welcome to the first episode of Tunnel Vision. I'm so stoked. I've been thinking about doing this for a very long time now. Probably about a year I've had this idea to just like get a podcast going. And I'm really excited to finally be here. I'm your host. If you don't know already, my name's Adam. So this podcast just going to be like pretty simple, just like pretty laid back. Just like me talking at you, probably like between like 45 minutes an hour, for this first one today. So start out with just like a little background on me. I'm in college right now. I'm in school. I'm studying marketing, which I actually just switched to for this next upcoming semester. It's going to be my first actual full semester doing marketing. I started out in music education for the first year of college. And that was a really good time. I enjoyed that a lot. Just wasn't my thing, ended up, but we move. You live and you learn, all that good stuff. So we're going to see how this next semester goes with marketing. Hopefully it goes pretty well and I enjoy it. I kind of just like in life, just like trying new things. I've always been of like the opinion that you need to find something that you're super passionate about, and just drive towards that goal, no matter like what kind of like notoriety or money or whatever it may be you get out of it. I just think, like, for me anyway, my personal values, just like find something you really enjoy doing and then worry about all that other stuff later. And that's what I hope to get out of this podcast. I think it's gonna be really fun. I'm someone that really enjoys podcasts in general. I'm an avid podcast listener on the daily. I have like 10 of them that I listen to right now, which is like a lot to get through during a week, considering some of them are like getting up to like 2 hours sometimes. But quarantine, so not really doing much anyway, as it happens to be. So, we move. So I just like going through the life story and all that, I'm a military brat. So moved around a lot when I was a little boy. I've been mainly on the East Coast for most of my life. When I was really little, lived in like Tennessee. Then I actually lived in Spain for about 3 years when I was a very little boy, like between 4 to 6. Which was really cool, but I kind of wish I was a little bit older. I still remember like most things from that, but some of it just kind of gets lost on me. It's just like the big overarching stuff that I kind of remember. But it's a really cool experience to live in a whole new place, and I didn't really appreciate that at the time because, again, I was a little child. But looking back on it now, I'm like, wow, I got to do something that a lot of other people never get to experience. So that's really cool. And that's something that, I wouldn't get if I hadn't been in the situation of like being in a military family and stuff like that. So that was really cool. So after a couple years there, moved back to the States, and I'm settled in where I am now. Been here since I was like 8, so more fortunate than some in like military families. Like my sister, who's older than me, had to move around a lot more during like middle school, high school age, and I didn't really do that. I've been here since elementary school, so it's like I've been around like the same people for a long time, which is really nice, and got to like make those long-lasting friends. So yeah, went through school, And grade school is like a whole experience. Like it's really good for some things, but others not so much maybe. For some people, I never loved school. Like I have my friends there, and like that's the good thing about going to grade school is you're surrounded by all your friends all of the time, and that's something that you can really like forget when you get out of it. Is that like every single day you're seeing all these people, and then once you get to like where I am now and beyond, you don't really see all those people that often. So if you're in school right now, do not take that for granted, because you're gonna miss all your buddies when you get out of there. But the one thing that I really enjoyed about school was, well, for one, music. That's where I started playing. I don't have like a very musical family to start with. I have an uncle that plays bass, but other than that, I was never like surrounded by music or anything like that. A lot of people, when they play music, they're surrounded by their parents when they're at a young age, and that's what kind of gets them into it. But for me, I just had friends that started doing it in 4th grade, so I hopped on. I started out playing saxophone, which was not the one for me. I hated it severely. So I was like sitting up there, my little saxophone, tooting away, as you do. And I saw a couple of my buddies like in the back of the room just like hitting stuff. And I was like, yeah, I vibe with that a lot. So I want to go do that. And like, as you can see, got some drums like stuff in the back here. So I started picking up the drums. Was not very good for a long time. It wasn't like an instant like moment where I picked up sticks and it was like my whole life flashed before my eyes or anything like that. It took a lot of hours and work. But at the end of the day, it was something that I enjoyed for a very, very long time. And that kind of drove me through grade school because, I was never someone that like really was like striving to get good grades or anything. I did okay. I think I did a decent job. I got by. I wasn't like failing a ton of classes or anything. You know what I mean? Like I definitely got through it, but was not necessarily the one for me. So music really pushed me to continue, like just holding up my end of the bargain with all of the schooling so that I could keep playing music every day. So yeah, had a lot of friends through music. And if you are someone that does play in a school band, you'll kind of know that like that's such a tight knit community that'll take you through all of your school life, and you meet a lot of friends in there. And there's a lot of good people that do band, which like it might get looked down upon by some people that don't really do it or know about it, and like might be like the nerdy thing in popular culture, which I never understood, because if you really think about it, we have all these like award ceremonies every year for musicians, and like for some people, I think they're just like thinking in the back of their head, oh, these people have just been cool their entire lives, and they were like the best in high school and like middle school and through college. They were like the cool people, but like no, those people are nerds. They are music nerds, and like they were most likely taken through that system. Like if you look at Charlie Puth, he has a YouTube channel that he used to post on way back in the day, where there's like videos on there that are just like so unbelievably cringy. And like that's what musicians are. They're nerds, and like there's some like stigmatism towards that word, but like we just have to kind of like accept that to a point, because I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. Like we're just all very passionate about like a shared thing, but like that's where all these pop stars come from. You know what I mean? Like they're playing on your car radios, and they are the people that like kind of get drugged down by like popular culture sometimes, which is a little strange. But I digress. Anyway, so yeah, through middle school, I got to the end of it, and I was actually, let's just like continue with the music. I got to the end of that, and I had some pretty good teachers at middle school, some people I really looked up to, but it was mainly like the people around me that really motivated me. A couple people in general, they know who they are, really pushed me through that time. And going into high school, I was just straight gonna quit, which is very funny considering like how much I like owe a lot of like my, I guess, life, because I haven't lived that long yet. So my life to music, up to this point, I was just gonna straight up quit after middle school, because again, I wasn't like insane or anything. I got by. I was pretty good, but I never went into like all county or all state or anything like that, like big high bands. I was always just kind of like chilling in the back, playing my parts. I learned them, which is, more than some people do. So I got convinced by a very good friend of mine to join band in high school, marching band specifically. And that was probably one of the best decisions I ever made for myself personally. Marching band is an incredible thing. Like for me, I've always loved like sports and just like being active as a human my entire life. I started playing baseball when I was 4, in the little leagues, just hitting dingers off the tee as you do. And that was something that I like didn't know about marching band, like especially for drummers. That is like a very physical activity. Some might call it a sport. I'm not going to get into that because that's like a whole technicality. Because like in some ways it is, because you go to like competitions, you get scored based on doing physical activity. So like I get that, but at the same time it's art because it's music, and that's why some like higher groups will call it like the sport of the arts, which fair, but still, I digress. But going into marching band, that was really awesome, was that you got to go out and get very sweaty, which is always fun. It's nice communal bonding time, and that's something that was really great about marching band, is that you get very close with the people in your section. So I started out in drumline my freshman year, played bass drum, and that was great. I didn't think I was going to make it because I was getting up to the date that we had to audition, and I did not like have any of the music, and that's partially my fault. I'm still going to blame that friend that got me into it, because they were going to give me the music, because I wasn't able to like go to one of the camps, so they were supposed to bring me the music, and they didn't until like a week before. So I blame you. You know who you are. But somehow, never looking at the music, still made it in. Thank God. So I went through my freshman year, and I was on the biggest bass drum, and I was a little skinny boy back in the day. I was always like very tall and lanky, like way skinnier than I am now. I'm even fairly skinny now. But I was like bone thin back in the day. And I'm sitting there with this giant bass drum, just like not expecting to do this thing at all. And it was very eye-opening to my technical ability playing the drums. So, it was cool having an experience, like especially on drumline, you get some really good senior and junior players on there. And, you know, I owe a lot to them for like kind of showing me what I need to do to like push up to their level. So it's very motivating. And kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, like when you get into that space with like all these dudes, and dudettes, you get very bonded and motivated by each other because you're like out doing this thing for a long time, like many hours of the summer. You spend just like out in a parking lot with the sun beating down on you and like sweat bees just like all over you. You're like just crushing them everywhere, which is tradition. And like when you're in that kind of environment, and this is true in like any high school sports or club or anything, you just get very bonded with those people. So going into high school with like that already formed, with those guys and girls, that kind of helped with that transition, because transitioning from middle school to high school is huge. It's a very, very big step. Cause you know, middle school, you're still getting your hand held a lot, and you get into high school, you know, you're walking to all your classes by yourself. You got lockers, you got all that, stuff that you never had before going through grade school. For me anyway, there was like less classes, but they were longer. So you had to keep up your attention span, which I don't have a great one. So very difficult for me. So it was just nice having those like people that you already knew for a very long time getting in there, because it's very intimidating. You see like all these older people. When you come in as a freshman, all of the seniors are like huge, you know, because they're approaching young adulthood and you were still a little baby. So it's very intimidating. But yeah, did marching band all through high school. And as an extension of like marching band, you have like your symphonic bands, your orchestras of the world. So I ended up doing that as well, and really liked that, which was surprising to me. Again, I didn't really love music at the time. It was just like something that I did to pass the time. And it was just like where all my friends were. So, you know, I was there doing that. But like just going through, like my sophomore and junior year, I got a lot better, just from seeing all those, upperclassmen, just spending a lot of time practicing with them and then going home and practicing stuff. Got a lot better at marching band originally, and that kind of translated to that other stuff. So, you know, I got to junior year, and I was pretty confident at that point. So that was the first time I ever auditioned for all county band. And you know, that's just every school in the county. You get together, you go to auditions, and then you have like a couple pieces that you're gonna play. So for percussionist, you have like a short timpani thing you got to play. You got to play something on marimba, and then you got to play something on snare drum. And there's just like short little excerpts that you learn, go in and play. And then for timpani, you might have to like tune it. And then for snare drum and marimba, you get to like pick which one to sight read music on. So you go in for auditions there, and then a couple weeks later, you find out if you made it or not. And that is a very weird thing in life. I'm of the opinion that just like in general, I think we as a society are still like very weirdly formal about things. And I think like this generation of like millenniums and Gen Z, like for myself and people around me, we're all kind of like just gradually getting more relaxed about life, you know, like it's just kind of a lot to a point. You get in there and there's people there, like all the different band teachers from around the county, and they're just sitting there, just like in absolute silence. And if you weren't in that setting, you'd be like chatting up with your band director, because like those are the teachers that you're around 24/7 in high school. So like those people very well, and like they just go into this mode of like stiffness, and you walk in there and they're just like looking at you cold, like you're just some like random dude that they've never met. And they like demand the utmost respect, and it's just kind of a lot to a point. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, can we all just chill out and just like come in? I'll play my stuff for you. We'll share pleasantries and all that, and then we'll get out of there. We don't have to do the whole formal thing. But that's just the world that kind of music lives in. So, you do what you have to. So anyway, I got done with that my junior year, and I was so nervous. I'm like an anxious person in general, and that experience was a lot for me. I hated just like going up and talking to new people, and especially like in that kind of setting when they're so formal. It's like just like a lot of nerves happening. That was a good experience though, getting in and doing something like that I've never really tried before. It was a good way to push out of my shell a little bit, I guess you could say. But got done with that, get the results back. I made it, which was great. I was the third chair, I believe, my junior year. I had 2 seniors that were ahead of me, which was amazing. They take 8 percussionists, and I was number 3 and the one selected. Awesome. Because I never done that before, and I felt very good about it. So get there, and you get like a special conductor for those kind of things. So my first year we had the Towson University band director in there, very lovely man, named Dr. Ciccone, one of the coolest people that I know probably, and that experience was probably like the main deciding factor of when I knew that I wanted to pursue music in college when I got there, which now has changed, but we don't really have to get into that. So he was really cool. You meet a ton of people that like share your interests there, like a deep love for music, because you go through high school and there's some people that are in there, they don't love it, they're just kind of there, that just like doing the thing, kind of like I was when I first got there. So it was cool meeting people who are very good and who really cared about the music that you were performing, and you get to perform some really cool stuff, because the directors, when they come in, the conductors they pick all the rep that you're going to play for the concert. So it was some like more challenging stuff than maybe we would do in like your own personal school, right? And had some cool parts and all that stuff. And as being the third chair, I had like slightly harder stuff than maybe like the 8th chair, right? And that was also cool. So we get through there, and I actually met one of my best friends now through that experience. And just again, like you meet so many cool people through there. And like I'm grateful that I did that now, because now I got this great buddy who will be on the podcast probably sooner rather than later, because he's a very, very good dude, very great friend of mine. But that's just an example of like, you never know what kind of people you're going to meet when you do stuff like that. So got through that, moving swiftly ahead to my senior year. Okay, let me back up a little bit. So junior year, you're looking at colleges, stuff like that. So, again, as someone who isn't like the most into school ever, I was like very less concerned about like where I was going. So I was like checking out all these different schools, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was like very, not concerned, but I was just like, I really don't know what I want to do yet. And like I said, All County helped with that, kind of going towards that direction. But even then, like, you know, my director, like the band director at my school would always say like, hey, if you just like go out and buy me some food in an hour of your time, I'll tell you why you shouldn't become a music major. And that was, you know, like partially joking, but at the same time, partially not, because it takes a lot to be successful in that field. And even when you are, just like teachers in general are very underpaid for the amount of work that they do. So, you know, it's like somewhat unmotivating to a point. You know, that's part of the reason that, you know, he probably said that. So, which I don't know, I'll never know. So yeah. But was looking at schools, and, you know, I realized, hey, maybe I want to do music, when I go into college. So started looking at schools for that. And, in senior year, I thought I was going to one school, right up until February, I believe. Yeah, that's when auditions were. I made it into the two schools that I was going to audition for. And it got up to that point, and some unfortunate personal medical stuff happened. And I which I'll just say, I have type 1 diabetes. It's great. It's a fun time. And it was weird. So I had a flight on Friday of that week. And I had a treatment on Thursday. And this is when I didn't know that I had diabetes yet. So I'm going to this treatment, and I'm chilling. And I have flight tomorrow and then audition the next day, for this school. And I found out that I had diabetes when they had like taken some blood tests, and they were freaking out. They're like, oh, your blood sugar is like 666. And like, first off, like, okay, like when your blood sugar is that high, like that is one thing where you're freaking out. But when it's 666, like that's another level of like panic in my head, because it was just like it could have just been high, but you just had to do that to me. You know what I mean? Like it could have landed on any other number. So that was great. But got through that, and you know, I could have technically still gone, but I was just like, you know, this is a sign. So I ended up going to this other school. It was a lot closer. And I've had a great experience there. But it was very interesting in like my little personal college deciding. Because again, I didn't really know what I was doing, didn't really know where I wanted to go. So kind of made it easy for me in the end of the day, which it was kind of nice, in a way. Not the diabetes part, but like the college picking. It made it very simple for me. So that's great. So finishing off with high school. So, some music stuff I did in high school. I did All County again, got first chair for that. Cool. My buddy, that I met from the last year was second chair. And then another friend of mine, who I had been kind of like helping out, as a freshman when I was a junior. I was kind of pushing him to take the reins almost, because I had people ahead of me who did that for me. So I was kind of helping him, like, hey, you should go audition. He ended up doing it, and he got third chair. So it was 1, 2, 3 for my friends. That was awesome. And we got to do some cool stuff that year. And we had the University of Maryland conductor come in for that. And that was a fun time. A lot of like old military marches, because he's a little bit more of a old fashioned dude, which military marches for percussion players are fun. They're a good time, especially on xylophone. So you get some cool stuff for that. So I did that. And I also did all state that year. So that's just encompassing everybody in the state. You go do the same process pretty much. have some harder stuff to come audition on, and it's a little bit more intense. And that was like very mentally taxing going into that, because that was the first time I had auditioned for that. And a lot of people that go in there have been auditioning for years, especially as me being like a senior. This is my last year to do it. And I was like, I'm going into college next year. Like, I really need this for my resume. Got in, and I was the 5th chair, I want to say, something like that. If I remember correctly. So made it. Woohoo. 5th chair is as good as any. That was a super cool experience. So for that one, you go off, and you're like spending a weekend alone in like a hotel, and just like all day for the weekend you're just like playing music. And that was like some really hard, like almost like college level stuff. So that was like a good intro into what I was going to be doing when I got to school. So that was really nice. And met some cool people there as well. Some very focused minds on like what they were going to do. And like, I want to say like 90% of the kids that were there were like, yeah, I'm going to do music in college. And it was like, oh, we're like, I'll probably see you around like the campus next year, you know? So that was a really cool thing. And just a resume builder. That's what you got to do when you're going to college. I think that was like probably the last notable thing I did. I took a lot of music classes my last year of high school to like boost myself into college. So that was a little bit easier of a year for me, which was awesome. So then I got to college, did a year and a half now of music education, and it was a fun time. It was very intense. It's like probably one of the hardest majors on campus. That's what all the advisors tell you when you get there. So they're very encouraging like that. They just tell you about all the ways that it's terrible. It's so great. Yeah, it's like 10 classes a semester almost. And like all of them are between like 2 and 1 credit because, you know, it like you're doing like a lot of performances. So I get that. You're doing like performance classes. So you have like your percussion ensembles and your symphonic bands, and you're doing lessons and stuff like that. But those are like the most time consuming out of like all your classes, because it's so much to have to learn, in like a lot of times, like very short times. So you're just like packing on the music that you got going on, which that's why you're there. So it's like fine. But just a lot of work, which was challenging to say the least. But, you know, got through a year and a half of it, found out it was not for me, which is okay. So now moving on to a new major, something I'm excited about. You know, I haven't done a lot with business in my time. I've taken like a couple classes in high school related to business. So it's going to be a very new experience, something that I look forward to a lot. And also should just be like a little bit nicer for the whole online class thing that we have going on around the world right now, because of the unfortunate nature of the pandemic. So, you know, it'll be a little bit kinder to me than the music was for that situation. 'Cause, you know, going through a music major all virtually is very counterintuitive for the most part. You know, especially for us, like percussion majors, well, for us, past tense for me, for the percussion majors of the world, when you're in that kind of situation, you know, all of the instruments that you have are, 1, very big for the most part, and 2, very, very expensive. And you can get like rentals and stuff like that, but you know, for like mass majority of people, they're living in an apartment in college, and trying to like fit a ton of percussion equipment in there is challenging. So, when you're at college, you have all the instruments available there. And when you're online, you do not have those tools readily available for you, which, is very difficult to like be learning and trying to play music from a situation where you don't have the musical instruments like ready at hand for you. So it was just more challenging to do it that way. And that might be a reason that I've switched. I like to think that it's not the main reason, but it's definitely probably like partially because of that, just like leaving a bit of a bad taste, just because like, I got there to play music. I'm not playing any music, man. It's just like unfortunate for everyone because, everybody's going through that right now. So like, and a lot of people have it worse, poor me, but, it's just kind of upsetting, but we're moving on and we're going to try some new stuff out. But I did continue, marching band getting into college, and college marching band is awesome. The program at my school is absolutely terrific. We have a great staff in place, some really cool people to look up to and to learn from. And we do it a little bit different at my school, as compared to bands like in the very big schools around America that, change up their show every week when they have a football game. It's very drill based. You're learning new stuff every single week. We have kind of like the high school format where you get one show and it's a little bit tougher music, and like the drill is fine. It's like not super demanding. And for those who don't know, drill is just like the movement of a marching band. So like the different patterns that they're going around and everything. So you get one show with a lot of different sections. We have like typically like 5 songs for the shows that we play. And you just learn that and make it really good over an entire semester, which I prefer personally. I like just repping music a ton until it's really, really good. I think that's exciting. And, like the other colleges that do like different shows every week, I respect that a lot because a lot of the time it's a really good output for them. But I enjoy just like very, like music that you do over a very long time, and then it's just like very perfect and streamlined and there's like no cracks in it. So for me, it's been great. And I'm playing quads for my school, which is something for people in drumline that they got to learn, is like what instrument they want to kind of like focus on when they get into like upper level bands. So like I said earlier, freshman year I started on bass drum, played bass drum my freshman, sophomore year of high school, and then I went to quads my junior year. I really liked that. And then I went to snare drum my senior year because I wanted to be a snare drum player, which was just like not my energy. I'm also like really tall, and all the tall people are like required to play quad drums. It's just kind of unwritten rule. But I did that my senior year, and that was really fun. Had like some very good friends that were all in that snare line at my high school, and they were both in my class. So we had a lot of fun that year though. But got to college, I tried out on snare drum, and there was a lot of very good people trying out that year on snare drum. And we had some spots available over on quads that they needed filled. So the instructor for the assistant director for our band came over to me and he was like, "Hey man, love what you're doing. We're gonna go put you on quad, see how that goes." And I hadn't played in like a year on quad, so I was a little rusty getting over and like just sight reading some of that music. It's very similar to the snare drum stuff, but slightly different. You get about like 5 more drums to worry about when you're on quads. So I struggled my way through that on the first day, but I met some of like the coolest dudes that I know through that line, that quad line, because I ended up making the line If you haven't figured that out by now, struggled my way through it, many hours, late at night, going through the packet, and ended up making it. So that was great. And in my freshman year, there was no COVID, so we got to play a whole season, and it was probably some of the most fun that I've had in any kind of like college or just like school environment in general. It was just a lot of fun. And there's some like very cool people over there that I hope to be friends with for a very long time. So going through a college band, and like mine specifically with our format, it can be like somewhat intense at times. Quads are heavy. They're very heavy, but it's good because it makes you big and strong. So it's okay. And there's some really good players on there, and that's been another thing. Just like I thought I was like good in high school, and then I got to college, and I was like, wow, I suck. Which is like basically every musician you ever talk to, they always are going to talk about how bad they are at music if they're a good person. Stay humble, kids. So when I got to school and I was surrounded by those like really good dudes, that like pushed me even further into my development for that. And in my second year at school now, my second year with the marching band, I got appointed to be the section leader for the quads, which was really cool. We basically had 3 people out of the 5 of us that were on that line move on. We had one age out. We had another one who he's a drum major, if I can speak. He's a drum major for the band now, and the other one just didn't come back. Hope to have him back next year. But we got a really cool group of freshmen. But this year was really weird because we've been doing band online, which I talked about earlier, is just like a very different thing. Especially marching band, you have like so many people, like close to 200 people for a band. And we were doing Zoom sessions for that. And Zoom is fine. Zoom is okay. It's definitely a really great tool that has been used this year, and like especially for people just like working at home and stuff like that. It's been very useful for them, and definitely a blessing for all of us, because it could be way worse. We could just be like doing fully asynchronous stuff online, and that wouldn't be the most fun ever. But we had these Zoom calls with like close to 200 people for the band every week. And it's unfortunate for people who are getting the first like taste of college, and also for the people that are about to graduate, just because like it's such a bad example of what college is. And that's for the marching band, and that's just college in general right now. That's it's just very unfortunate. That's probably the best word I can use for this situation right now, because we're trying to make the best of it, and things could be a lot better, but I try to stay optimistic with all of it, and I don't really want to go down that route and like get all sad boy mode on you guys, but I think we're doing a pretty good job so far, just like from a morale standpoint. I mean, of trying to contain some kind of, it's not normal, so I don't want to say normalcy, but just like camaraderie, that's still trying to have that, and so for this season, when we were all online for marching band, we just made the best out of it. We did a lot of like just like fundamental work, which was good. It's not the most appealing thing ever. Never is, when you have to just like go very bare bones for something. But it was necessary, and I think it was very cool, just to like have time to kind of go back to basics. And that's something that you don't really get, through like your beginning years of high school. So yeah, that was good. And then that kind of led up to this point now, where we're going into the next semester. Next week, it's technically Saturday. It's like 2:25 a.m. right now, if you were wondering. But this will be out during my first week of the semester. So that's very exciting, getting back. But yeah, that kind of leads me to now, and we're here. And I've been talking for about 45 minutes now, and it has gone by very quickly. I'm not going to lie. I'm like fairly nervous for this, it's first time doing it. But I appreciate everybody who is listening right now for coming out and supporting me in my endeavors. I as a general person, I kind of touched on it earlier. I'm not very extroverted. I'm a pretty introverted guy. And I keep a tight net of friends. I don't have a ton of friends, I was never that dude in school. And it could be in part to like me moving around, at a very young age, just like not having a great, like solid group of friends until I got to, where I am now. I didn't really make a ton of friends because, I was eventually going to leave. So it's like, whatever. But met some really great people and they stick by my side and I love all of them. So if you're one of my people, shout out to you. But I think it's really interesting, doing something like this, like for me anyway. This is just way fully out of my comfort zone. I'm going to be very honest about that. I want to be honest on this podcast. It's kind of what I want to do. I like to psychoanalyze myself a little bit, to a point, and I think this is a cool, just like experiment for me and trying to like push myself out of my shell. So again, thank you for supporting. But going back to just like introvertedness in general, I find that like for me personally, kind of like I talked about, just having a lot of very close friends is really cool. Sometimes when you get a big group together, it's hard to, really like know somebody when you have such a big group together. So, I feel like very connected to my people, that I'm close with. And it's just nice having like more support systems that way rather than having like a big group of friends. Let's say like for just like sake of example, let's say you have like 20 friends in your friend group versus like 7 really close friends, right? I feel like deep down that having the 7 is actually more beneficial in like a lot of ways, and like for my lifestyle personally, just because I was talking about earlier, you get to be very close with those people and have like more connection with those humans rather than, just like a big group where, you go out and party and all that stuff. And I'm also not a very big partier, which is just a whole other thing. Never really been that into it, never done any sort of like drugs or drank or anything like that, which like is very weird for people to hear. Especially in my age range where we're in school now, like in college. And, a big part of college life is going out and partying. And, I don't like judge people at all because that's dumb to do. Everybody do what you want, whatever makes you happy. I fully support that you do that. But for me, that's just not really my scene, and that's okay. And that took me a while to like fully accept as a little introverted boy. You can get kind of worried about, hey, is this like weird that I'm not, going out and like in like high school? These were my thoughts. like going out and partying and like going with those big crowds and everything. But I think the coolest thing that somebody can do is just like fully be themselves and be fully comfortable with themselves. I think that is probably like the peak of a human, when you're just like fully comfortable in your own skin. And that's something that a lot of people, I wish, like for myself and like a lot of people would learn faster, is just like whatever you are, like whoever you are, whatever you want to do, whoever you want to be, like be unapologetically yourself 100% of the time, always. Like that is the best thing for everyone. If everyone was like that, society would be so much better. We would all be way nicer to each other. Like it's just a lot of stress. If you're not like that, you just got to be fully yourself all the time. And that's something that like, can really build up your confidence, and like other people will notice that a lot, is like, if somebody's like that, that's very appealing to other people, whereas like rather than trying to be somebody's like best friend, trying to like appeal to, what they might like more. If you're just yourself, I feel like people recognize that. Maybe not like fully consciously, but like at least subconsciously in the back of their head, they're like, that's somebody that's very comfortable in their skin. I like that guy. You don't have to match what people around you are doing just to feel cool. So getting a little deep, but anyway, yeah, be yourself. So, I've got like a little list here going, just so I like don't run out of things to talk about. So other stuff with me, just like fully, just so you have a full picture of the human that I am. I've got some other stuff going on right now. So went through college, talked about music. Music is a big part of my life. And even though I changed my major, hopefully music never falls out of my life. I plan that for myself. I still play music every day. Just like continuing that part of me. So that's really good. Other things that kind of like make up me as a person. So I did martial arts for maybe like 10 years very consistently. And then the last 2 years being at school, I've tried to keep it up as much as possible. And kind of like I talked about earlier, like I've always done sports. I've never been like yoked. I'm not now, never really was. But I've always been fit. And karate was a big part of that for me. Specifically for me, I did Tang Soo Do. And that was a very cool thing. Just like another one of those things where I got into it and it was, it was fine at first. It was partially, I think it was mainly because of like Ninja Turtles that I wanted to get into it. I was like, this is cool. I want to like be a turtle and go on adventures. Which I'll have if you want to get into martial arts, you don't turn into a turtle, which is upsetting for like several reasons. But at the end of the day, you gotta just accept that. So, yeah. I don't know, man. So I did that for 10 years. And like I said, beginning wasn't great. As I kept going and going, I like really fell in love with it. It is so physically demanding, in like more ways than one. You got to be physically fit to do that kind of stuff. Just like muscles and like getting your cardio up, lifting and like really make sure that part of your physical health is there. And then also just like getting very stretchy and like elastic, that's something you focus on a lot when you do martial arts, is like stretching, cause you got to kick really high for some of that kind of stuff. So it's just a full body, like, workout, I guess. But something you got to focus your full body and your mind into, especially. And I had a really great dojo. I had a super good experience. I know people who have less good experiences with it, but finding what is good for you, because again, it's like some places are very strict, kind of like and like kind of formal, like I was talking about with the music thing. It's just like, let's just chill out a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, we can all just like take a moment to relax. We don't got to be so serious all the time. At my dojo, we were very relaxed, and we still did like some great work there. And there was a lot of really talented and really good people, very great martial artists there. But we kept it relaxed, and I actually think that benefited a lot of us that really got into it and really liked it, and got really good at it. It was just like being in an environment where you're fully comfortable all the time instead of like being yelled at, because that can be something that happens in martial arts. It can kind of take more of like a almost like military vibe, to just like compare it to something where it's like it's very strict, very serious, and in a combat sport especially, it can get very serious, because it's like technically your life that you're playing with at a point. You learn a lot of self-defense stuff in there. That's like the main thing, is just like knowing how to, if you ever get yourself into a situation, it's just like how to get out of it, kind of thing. It's never a thing, and it should never be a thing when you're doing martial arts, of like, oh, I'm learning this so that I can like beat the shit out of people. It's never for that reason. But the really cool thing that I got into, when I got my first black belt, was the competition team. And for that, you go to these big tournaments, and you go in and you have some separate, like, some options that you can work with. So you can go in and do forms where you're doing like a choreographed set of moves, and you try to do it with style. You try to do it with power. You try to just make it as clean as humanly possible. So it's kind of like the thing with drumline and just like music, is just like finding something and then just like refining the living hell out of it until it's really, really good, which I guess is something very appealing to me. So yeah, that's one of the things. And that's something that we do a lot at my dojo, is going through forms and stuff like that. And then the other thing, which is, probably like more commonly like known by the public, is sparring. And for that, you go in, and for our specific thing, you go in and you have a point system. So for the points now, they actually changed it a couple years ago. So it's 1 point for any strikes with your hands. So if you're at the head or like anywhere in the torso, that's 1 point. You get 2 points for landing a kick on the torso, and then you get 3 points for landing a kick on the head. And there's like very specific things of like what's legal and not legal. It's basically just like above the belt, nothing in the back, nothing directly to the face, stuff like that. There's more rules. That's the basic gist of it. And you go in, you're just like one-on-one, and you fight for the black belts. It was like a minute and a half, and then or a minute and a half, something like that. And then you'd go off your corner. You get yelled at by your coach for like 30 seconds. You go back and you do another minute and a half. Whoever has the most points at the end wins. Cool. So did that. Really, really enjoyed that. Started out just like going to qualifiers and stuff like that. And then you can qualify for the national tournament through that, and also Junior Olympics. And that's just like bigger stage from like for nationals. It's the whole nation. It's right in the name. Very simple to understand. And that's really cool. You get to go on a trip with like a bunch of people you're really close with and have a lot of fun and kick some people's butts. So that's a great time. But yeah, did martial arts for a very long time. Ended up getting my 3rd degree black belt before I had to ship out to the old college. And that's another big thing. I'll talk about that a ton later and get like very much more in depth with that. And then, you know, one of the more recent things that I've gotten like super into through quarantine, probably like the one, probably the one only good thing that came out of COVID so far. I really got into disc golf, and this is really weird because it's a very niche thing. It's a very niche sport, but for me anyway, I always saw like in like local parks, like going to baseball games and stuff like that when I was younger. I'd always see these baskets hanging up everywhere, and I'm just like, man, that actually kind of seems pretty fun. I liked Ultimate when I was in like high school. I really got into that, like watching like the Dude Perfect and Brody Smiths of the world, just like seeing cool stuff like that. And then I was like, oh, Frisbee's kind of fun. And then getting into quarantine, I was like, well, I mean, I got nothing better to do. And like when you go play disc golf, you're not really around a lot of people. So me and one of my friends, we just went out and started playing. And at first it like wasn't very serious. We just went out, didn't really keep score, just threw around. And it's really fun. And it's like, it's one of those things where I've played golf for a long time. I've played golf with my dad for a very, very long time in my life. And I really enjoy it, but I'm not very good at it, I will say, which a lot of golfers are not very good at golf. But it's a very popular sport, so that is why. But disc golf, it's like taking the best elements of golf because it's the same, but then you are adding like more physical aspect into it with like your ability to get distance instead of like, there is like a lot of power within golf, but I feel like at a point you get your swing smooth enough and then it goes pretty dang far. With disc golf, there's a lot to like coordinate, and like you got to get you're like pulling through with the disc like super hard, and it can take a toll on your body, which is always awesome. And then a lot of these courses also, we don't have like carts when we play disc golf. You just got to walk everywhere, and like some of these places are very long and like very hilly, and it's almost like a hike to a point, which is awesome because I love hiking. So got super into disc golf during quarantine. Just kept playing and playing and playing, and I found myself like playing every single day. And I've played a couple tournaments now, and it's something that I might even want to like try to pursue in the future, or even now. I want to play a lot more tournaments, and I hopefully like one of these days want to start playing in the upper division, which is the professional division. Right now I'm playing in the highest of the amateur divisions. And as like my first year, I'm close to about 1 year playing. Now I started playing like late March. I feel like I've developed a lot and I've gotten pretty good. And I feel like if I keep doing what I'm doing now and I've continued to play every day, I feel like I get like actually very, very good at it. And hopefully one day like win some money for doing it. Cause when you play in that professional division, you go to some of these tournaments, you can cash out from them. So that'd be very cool. And I'm just trying to pursue any kind of way to, involve that into my life in any way that I can. So with that said, I'm planning on starting a YouTube channel for that. Hopefully that would be like a once a week kind of thing where, I just go out, I might do some like different challenges, stuff like that. Just like go out and play courses, and film it and, just throw it up on YouTube and like see how that does. And, maybe just like trying to like build a brand for that. And seeing how far I can take that. Cause it's something that again, I'm very passionate about and I love it a lot. So if I can pursue that in any way, like I gotta at least take a chance on it. So yeah, so be on the lookout for that. I'm going to put like more info on my personal Instagram and I'll talk about it so much more on the show. Me and my buddies were very into it. And when I get them on the show, especially, we just talk for, a long time about it. So, yeah. So keep on the lookout for that. Man, we've been going for about an a little over an hour now. And you know, this is great. I actually am really enjoying this, you know. This is, again, something that I just thought might be cool as a avid podcast listener. I thought, you know, maybe people could enjoy what I have to say. I like to, you know, get my thoughts out there into the world. I think I have okay opinions at times. So, yeah, you know, I understand I'm like a average white male and all that stuff. So it might be like, why should I listen to your podcast? Or you're just like some other guy. But, you know, I think I can have some appeal, and I ask some pretty good questions to like myself and people around me. So I think we can get into some really cool stuff here. I think this is just like a very cool platform to just like air my thoughts out onto. It's almost like a therapeutic like meditation state for me. Cause you know, I've tried meditation before and it's not the one. So, you know, I look for like other, sources to do that kind of stuff at, and, you know, this could, I think, be something for me. And I think that, people around me and maybe some other people could really enjoy just like some of my thoughts. So, again, I really appreciate, everyone that's tuning in right now, whether it's on, YouTube or over any podcasting platform. I really appreciate you, you know, coming and checking this out, and, you know, hopefully starting something very cool that we can all share together, and just like see how far we can get this thing. So yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there, and so I'll have new episodes out every week, Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, and I will start putting out links for all the different platforms that you can view this on. Check out my Instagram, send me DMs, ask me questions. Like, what do you want me to talk about on the podcast? I'd really like this if it was a more of a experience where the audience is heavily involved, and I can, you know, like discuss some things that you guys have to say. And also with this platform that I'm using, Anchor, there's a feature where you can actually send in audio clips. So, you know, I might even see if you guys, anybody wants to send in any audio clips, and I can play that during the podcast, and like you can get your questions out through there. And, you know, just like start talking about some really cool stuff and see what you guys have questions about. So, yeah, with all that being said, I will see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Tunnel Vision. Peace out.